So I was trying to put my finger on why exactly Rebel Without a Cause remains such a timeless classic. It's coming up on 70 years old. This movie was made in 1955. It's getting a 4K release in 2023. What makes it so deserving of us to discuss it and to study it all these years later? There's a lot of reasons this movie works as well as it does. I think first and foremost, we have to give credit to James Dean, because this is the movie that really cemented James Dean as the icon. Right? When we think about James Dean, I'm thinking of the white t-shirt, the red jacket, that sort of effortless cool. He's a bad boy, but he's also got a really sweet side, and there's so much conflict going on there. This really is it's an icon making, it's a myth making role. More myth making than that is the fact that James Dean had died almost a month to the day before this movie hit theaters. So by the time people come in, plop down their money for the tickets, and sit down, they know that the star of the movie they're about to see is gone, and he's never coming back. But he's immortalized. He's frozen in time thanks to this movie. It's not his last movie. He did, he's in Giant after this. But we have 3 James Dean lead roles, really, and this, I think, is the most iconic of the 3. But there's so many themes behind this movie, too, that deserve to be talked about. There's a lot of social unrest. This is a movie that says the kids are not all right. This is a movie that says there's something happening with our youth. It's a dangerous youth movie, and it was Spawn. It was an iconic drag. I keep using the word iconic, but these really are. I mean, this movie gave birth to a whole exploitation genre. There's a drag race in the middle of the movie, so there was a whole spate of drag race movies after this. There was a whole spate of dangerous youth movies through the 50s, even into the 60s. What happened? We gotta set the stage here for just a little bit of context. We're gonna talk about the video quality and all that stuff in a minute, but we gotta set the stage here for why this movie matters so much. So after World War II, the middle class essentially packs it up and they head out of the city and into the suburbs, with the idea that that's where the American dream is, that there is a chicken in every pot, there's a car in every garage, and that's whatever they've been chasing, that's the answer, is to have your own piece of land in the suburbs. But beneath the veneer, behind the white picket fence, all was not well inside so many of the houses. It wasn't like Leave It to Beaver or so many of the other TV shows at the time. There was a real unrest that was growing, and these children, the children of the World War II generation, these kids who were growing up in the 50s, were disenfranchised from so much. And what it leads to is a movie like Rebel Without a Cause that says that something's wrong, but it doesn't have a heavy-handed moral. There's other movies like Blackboard Jungle that want to say, well, the kids just need love. These kids have love. And they don't all, but some of the, like James Dean's character, he has loving parents, but they have failed him, and there's this widening gap, and that's what it's about. And when I talk about how we go back, we talk about so many classic movies. When you go back into movie history, I say this so many times, we haven't changed. You see how we haven't changed, especially in Rebel Without a... This is a movie with teen violence. The kid picks up a gun and just starts shooting. There's so much here that relates to the times we're living in now. We have not changed. The only thing that has changed is the way that we talk about certain things, the way the media covers certain things. This is a movie that presents that generational gap, arguably for the first time, as it really was, because there's no heavy-handed moral. I think the parents could relate to it because they see how things are going out of control. They're scared. I think the youth could absolutely relate to it because they are seeing themselves on screen for the first time. And they were also the first generation, the youth of the 50s were the first generation to have purchasing power. And so they made this movie really huge, and then it therefore spawned a whole movement. I've talked about this before. If you want to learn more about this, there's a book called Teenagers and Teen Pics written by Thomas Doherty. It is fantastic, and it really outlines the entire teen movie cycle from the 50s, all the way into the 60s and beyond. It even goes, through up to the 90s with everything that was going on then. But and I made a video about that. It bears studying to see why these things connect. And so when it comes to Rebel Without a Cause, there's so many reasons. The cast is phenomenal. We've got James Dean, we've got Natalie Wood somewhere between Miracle on 34th Street and West Side Story. We've got Sal Mineo, who is incredible in this film, absolutely incredible, as the kid who shoots puppies. And Jim Backus, I want to give a huge nod to Jim Backus because he is, he was a gifted comedic actor, and so many people will know him as the millionaire from Gilligan's Island. Lover, the millionaire. But this is a dramatic role for him, and it's incredibly, it's just great. There's a lot of layers here. He loves his son. He wants to do whatever will help his son, but that's not what his son needs. There are no easy answers here. And I think that's what people resonate with. It's shot beautifully. It made Griffith Observatory this a Hollywood icon. Again, there's another icon drop for you. Griffith Observatory in this film. We go there several times, including the climax. This is the stuff that Hollywood legends are made out of. How does it look on 4K? It looks good. I'm going to be honest with you guys. The Blu-ray, which is included here, in fact, I think this is the original Blu-ray from 2013, I believe it is. I think it's just a straight port because it's got all the same features. There's nothing new here. If you've got the Blu-ray, there's nothing new here that you don't already have except for the 4K transfer. It looks good. The Blu-ray was really good already. This is an incremental upgrade over the Blu-ray. It's not I don't think it's a reference piece. I don't think it's... I just reviewed the Maltese Falcon. Also, pretty much at the same time, we're getting the Maltese Falcon, Rebel Without a Cause, and Cool Hand Luke. I'm going to be reviewing all three of those. This doesn't compare to the Maltese Falcon, which is this pristine, very sharp, very clear movie. This movie was never very sharp. It's always got a little bit of I don't know if it's an anamorphic lens distortion. There's just something going on that keeps it from being super crystal clear. Again, not a reference piece, but this is without a doubt, let me say this is without a doubt the best that Rebel Without a Cause has ever looked on home media. Probably better than it looked in the theater too, because there's so much. Film is a corruptible medium. The minute you show a film in a theater, you've now got dirt on the film, and that's there, for every subsequent showing. So to get a clean presentation like this, I'm really grateful for it. If you don't own Rebel Without a Cause at all, this is for sure the edition that you want to get, because you do get the Blu-ray and the 4K. The 4K has a commentary on it with Douglas L. Rathgeb, who wrote the book about the making of Rebel Without a Cause. That commentary is also on the 2013 Blu-ray, so it's not a new commentary. We do have our digital code and the movie on both discs. The special features are substantial, though, and I want to run through them really quickly. So the documentaries, Rebel Without a Cause, Defying Innocence, it's one of those Warner Brothers making ofs that they would make. It's from the 2006, I believe, is when it's from, and they would make better documentaries back then than they do now, because I feel like now they want to kind of suppress the truth, or they want to control the narrative to some aspect. But back in 2006, in the DVD era, we were getting these really substantial documentaries, and that's what's here. It's probably, they don't have a new documentary, probably because you're not going to top this one. James Dean Remembered it runs a little bit over an hour. It's sourced from videotape. It's got a copyright date of, I think, 1974. I don't know if it aired on television or what, but it is a retrospective of James Dean and his life and career, but obviously sourced from substandard elements, because videotape, right? Dennis Hopper, memories from the Warner lot. So they sit down with Dennis Hopper and talk to him for about 10 minutes. He talks about working with James Dean on this movie. He talks about working with James Dean on Giant, which was the second posthumous James Dean film. And he really has a lot of recollections about Warner Brothers just in general. And speaking of the rebel spirit that we're talking about, he clashed. Dennis Hopper, of course, we know Dennis Hopper now was like an icon of the hippie generation, easy rider, right? All these things. But we're talking about the 50s here, and he's having all these conflicts with like the heads of the studios. And he talks all about that. So it's really interesting. And we have additional scenes. There's deleted scenes in black and white, deleted scenes in color. There's wardrobe tests, screen tests, theatrical trailer. There's a lot here, but all your special features besides the commentary are going to be on the Blu-ray. This movie is, it's really powerful. It's iconic. There's that word one more time. It's iconic for a reason. I think people coming to it new for the first time might be a little put off by how slow, and I should use that word in quotes. It's not a slow movie. It's a character-driven piece, and if you're paying attention and you allow yourself to if you give yourself into the movie, I think you're in for quite a ride, because it is it's heartbreaking, but it's also triumphant in a lot of ways, and it's really just, I miss, we talk so many times now movies as being products. Movies were always products, but it wasn't that long ago that movies were really saying something about the human condition. And I think that's what Rebel Without a Cause does, is it captures a moment, it captures an atmosphere, it captures fear, it captures this disillusionment that we're talking about, this angst, right? But it's so relatable, it's not heavy-handed, it's not preachy in any way. It's just showing who we are and who we continue to be. And I think that's why this movie resonates with us now. I think that the themes here would translate to the 60s and to the 70s and to the 80s, but I think they started here. I think this captures the beginning of something that is still with us today. So Rebel Without a Cause is a fantastic film. I'm going to put a link in the description of this video so you can pick it up. You'll be supporting Cereal at Midnight. And I would thank you if you do that. Guys, let's talk about this movie. There's so much to discuss here. What do you think about it? When did you first see it? How do you connect with it? I appreciate you guys so very much. Thanks. Take care. Until next time, I will catch you later.